Welcome to All Things Monmouth County and Real Estate. I'm Nicole Rabbat Levine, your local real estate expert and community connector. This show is all about highlighting the people, businesses, and organizations that make Monmouth County such an incredible place to live, work, and give back. If you enjoy learning about the people and organizations making a difference here in Monmouth County, make sure to follow the show, share this episode, and connect with us more for local stories. Today, I'm joined by three local educators, Steve, Marissa, and Jean. Many families choose to move to Monmouth County because of the schools, but understanding how the local education system works can take some time, especially for families coming from New York City or another part of the state. Today, we'll talk about why education is such an important part of the home search, how local school districts are structured, what families should research before making a move, and how to look beyond rankings when choosing the right community for their children. Steve, Marissa, and Jean, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
So happy that you guys are here. So just want to talk about you and how you kind of got into education. So Steve, tell us a little bit about yourself, what you teach, what drew you to education.
I'm Steve Koumoulis. I teach high school history at Middletown High School South. What drew me to education, I always knew I wanted to be a teacher. I'm one of those lifelong education people. I love history, so that was what I concentrated on, and to share that love of history with my students is the best thing.
Any part of history that you love more than other, like teaching?
My favorite unit to teach, I like social history. Some people like battles, some people like wars. I'm not a big war person, but I like social movements like the French Revolution and the the movements of groups of people in order to gain their rights and equality and equity. That's what I enjoy.
I love that. And Marissa and Jean, tell us about yourselves, your roles in education, and what drew each of you to education.
My name is Jean Crimoli. I am the director of curriculum in Union Beach. I got into education for the paycheck and for the respect of parents and politicians alike. I am the son of two educators, so it was kind of always in the house. It was always something we were doing. I was working baseball camps at 12, and I always just was very good at kind of relaying information and working with younger kids and stuff like that. So when I got to college, and aside from playing baseball there, it was okay. This is what I want to do, and I taught science for 10 years. I loved doing that, and I moved into administration 6 years ago.
Yeah, you moved in, like 8 weeks before
COVID? Yeah.
COVID. So
Great.
baptism by fire.
Great times.
Gee,
Baptism by fire.
that had to be interesting.
We'll get into that.
I'm Marissa Crimoli, also known as Jean's better half, and I have a very similar answer to Steve. I kind of always knew I wanted to be a teacher. Never elementary, though. I'm like middle school, high school is where I'm at. I love helping people figure out the answers to their own why. I believe every kid has a right to say, why do I have to know this? And I don't think because it's on the test is a sufficient answer. So understanding how things are the way they are, why they are. So I teach English, middle school English. I also teach a course called Standing Up to Intolerance, which is a Holocaust genocide course that all of the 8th graders in Holmdel are mandated to take. And then I also teach a high school course for sophomores, juniors, and seniors that's a dual enrollment. So they're getting college credit through Kean University, which is an advanced Holocaust course. So my master's degree is in Holocaust and Genocide Studies. Jean calls it doom and gloom. But
we have a lot of really fun conversations.
Listen, this is what we live in.
It is.
I teach a modern global history course that is based on the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, dual enrollment through Seton Hall. And
yeah,
it's
very similar to what you were saying. We're dealing with, yes, there's battles in World War II, but World War II and the Holocaust are not the same. You're dealing with lots of complex social issues, a lot of injustice, a lot of inequity, but a lot of it's fueled by so many other areas, including wealth and power. So I like to answer the why questions.
And where do you teach?
In Holmdel.
In Holmdel,
yes.
And fun fact, so Marissa and I attended Holmdel schools together.
We did.
Fast forward, I'm not going to say how many years.
A few.
And just a
like
few.
a few.
And then we worked together in a real estate, world, where I was able to help and I appreciate that so much that you trusted to reach out. But I have to ask you, what is it like teaching in Holmdel where we went to school?
It was interesting. When I first started, there were a lot of teachers who were my teachers, and they were incredible in remembering me, taking me in, taking me under their wing. And now it's interesting because some of my former students are now teachers in Holmdel as well.
Really?
So it's,
Oh my God,
it's
how old
kind
are
of
we?
nice to come full circle. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Okay, so Steve, when someone says they want a home in a good school district, what should they be looking for beyond test scores and online rankings?
What they really should be looking for is a good community.
Mm-hmm.
They should do their research about what really truly makes up that area, right? They should find the festivals that are there. They should find what really makes that community tick, what their values are. But beyond test scores and beyond the obvious school things, they really need to look at what the schools are known for. So in Middletown, yes, sports. We've got great sports teams, right? But we also have a great theater program. We also have a great arts program. And all of those other programs have also won awards. So you really need to look deeply into those to make it match who your child is. You know about your child and know what they want in the future.
You know, I would actually pose the same question to both of you too. And Jean also, you know, as an administrator, so many people will come to me saying that they're looking to move to this area. You know, which schools should they be looking at? And they want the best school system. But how do you respond to that?
What's best for one is not best for all. You need to know your child. You need to know your family. You need to know what's truly going to suit that student. So my recommendation really would be, obviously do your research, okay? But don't look at individual data points. Don't look at test scores necessarily. Not that those things don't necessarily matter, but, you know, get boots on the ground. Go visit the school. You know, we've had families that are moving into town and they ask, you know, for a tour. We're happy to take them around. We are a small community. We have about 600 students, pre-K through 8. And we know those students. So if you're looking for a school that is going to, you know, build a community around your student and around your family, you should be looking at schools for that, because, you know, different strokes for different folks. It's not a one size fits all. You really need to know what's best for your student. And if you have multiple kids in your household, what's right for your older student might not be right for your younger student.
So pick your favorite.
Of course. You know, no, but in all reality, you know, you need to find what's right for your family. If you are a highly motivated family for sports, you might be looking for one district. If you're a highly motivated family for music or theater or, you know, academics, you're going to look for what fits, you know, your goals. But, you know, to say one size fits all would just not be realistic, and it wouldn't be genuine.
And would it be fair to say just Monmouth County as a whole, we have great school districts? I mean, you can't really go wrong with any
absolutely.
of our
I mean,
schools.
and there's a spectrum too. I mean, there's, you know, schools that are great across the board, and there are schools that are, you know, great in certain areas.
Right.
And, you know, when you're looking at elementary or middle school versus high school, there's a bunch of different, you know, ways to look at things too. We have great vocational high schools. We let's be fair, and I'm a product of CBA. There are great private high schools as well. So it's not just a one size fits all, but, you know, Monmouth County, you know, from Neptune to Rumson, there's a lot there.
And from your perspectives, what draws people to the Monmouth County schools, and why are so many families moving to this area because of our schools?
I think there's a lot of reasons. I mean, not just the strong academic profile, but also the options. You know, the Monmouth County Vocational School District is phenomenal. So when we talk about, like Jean was saying, how what's right for one student versus another, you can test into different schools. Or even Red Bank Regional High School has all of the different academies. I mean, you have someone who really wants to pursue dance and musical theater, or even early childhood education. Like, they have an academy for that. I don't think all those options existed when we were just a few years ago, younger.
Just like 5 years
like
ago.
Yesterday. But I think there's so many opportunities. You know, we live in Shrewsbury. We love Shrewsbury. Our kids are getting this really small town experience. But then they're going to go to Red Bank Regional High School, and they're, unless they decide to go somewhere else, but they're going to matriculate there where they have a traditional high school experience option. They have all of, what are there, like 11 different academies or something to choose from, but they're also going to be with a lot of different demographics there. They're going to get the opportunity to meet so many more people, and they're going to go from kind of being in a smaller pond to a bigger pond, but I think that's important for growth.
Definitely.
So there's a lot of opportunity based on what somebody's looking for.
And what I think makes Monmouth County different than other areas in the state is that Monmouth County is one of those like perfect locations, right? You have transportation to New York, you have transportation to Philly, you're in the center of the state, and you have the beaches and you have whatever. But
whatever, the restaurants.
Sure, the restaurants. We'll talk
Parks,
about that later.
Yes.
But I think Monmouth County attracts a lot of different kinds of people, and consequently, the school districts reflect those different kinds of people, right? The different kinds of communities, the different kinds of values. So you could easily find your value, right? You could easily find your group based on where you want to be. Like, we live in Red Bank. I did not want to live in a neighborhood. I just knew that was me, right? I wanted to live in an urban kind of environment. I mean, I grew up in Lincroft. I also went to CBA. But you find your culture very easily in Monmouth County as opposed to other places. So it's, Monmouth County is great.
It definitely is. Okay, so Steve, you've taught at both Middletown North and Middletown South. What misconceptions have you heard about North and South that you would like to clear up for families moving into Middletown?
So growing up in Middletown, you have preconceived notions about one side of town versus the other. The other side of town also has preconceived notions about one side of town versus the other. So what I'm here to say is there are great teachers at both schools. And people also forget that the philosophy comes from the central office, comes from the educators who are in charge of writing that curriculum, comes from the educators who are in charge of putting that curriculum in place. So to say that one school is better than the other, to me, it's a fallacy.
And you also have lived in Middletown too.
Oh yeah, I grew up in Lincroft. So.
And your family also taught.
And I'm from an education family. That would have been a great answer for the beginning.
Do you guys have the same answers for everything here?
Everybody
CBA?
does, yeah.
Listen, we talk to each other. CBA, it's what happens. We get together.
It's all fake. We're just making it up as we go.
Exactly. So, my mother is also a teacher, retired. She's a retired teacher. She taught business for many years. My sister teaches at Thorne. She teaches math. And
Thorne is in the North District.
Thorne is in the north side, right? Thorne is on the north side. And then my other sister teaches in Keyport. She's a special ed teacher. So I come from an education family. It was always a thing. We always joke, my dad is a frustrated history teacher, but it's what it is.
And Marissa, what should parents understand about elementary schools feeding into middle schools and high schools when they are thinking several years ahead?
I love thinking ahead. I'm a firm believer in thinking ahead. Similar to what I said earlier about high schools, right? There's a lot of different options. So as your children are kind of figuring out who they are and what works best for them, you also as a parent kind of have a lot of choices. You don't necessarily need to move town to town to give your child different opportunities or options. And I'm saying that within the public school sphere, right? There's always the private sector as well. With regards to middle school and high school, that's kind of unique in that each district is set up differently. Right. So for a school like Shrewsbury or like Union Beach, these children are going to be together. I'm not going to say isolated because that's far too negative, but building their own community from like pre-K through 8th grade. And then they're going to go into this whole new experience in high school. And I don't know that that's better or worse than where we grew up in Holmdel, where you're transitioning between 3 different schools before you get to high school, but also with the same cohort.
Right.
As opposed to Middletown, where each time you're transitioning between elementary or middle or high school, you actually get to intersect with different individuals within your same larger community. And so to kind of build on what Steve said earlier about culture. Like, what are you looking for? You know, Jean had said boots on the ground, but I think, yes, you can look at, I'm merging different questions. Please forgive me.
No, please go with it.
But I think there's a lot to be said for when you meet someone and the vibe that you get. You know, they talk about college tours, right? And I remember walking onto campus and saying, like, this is where I'm comfortable. This is where I want to go to school. But parents can feel something very similar, both for or against a place when they visit elementary schools and middle schools and high schools. Like, is this your vibe? Is this a place where you feel welcome, included? Are the people that you're talking to sharing a speech that they give everybody who walks through the door, or are they talking to you? So I think there's a lot to be said for the feeling that you get. I'm sure very similar to when you walk into a house and you're saying, like, this is not for me, or this is somewhere I could see myself.
So when someone comes to me and they're really unsure where to move, would you even suggest that they go to the schools and get to know the schools themselves to kind of figure out where they feel the best and where they feel the most confident?
Sure. I don't know that I would recommend that if you're between 14 different towns.
True.
It feels a bit aggressive.
Okay, fair.
But if you're kind of between 2 or 3 places, that seems worthwhile. You know, I mean, for me personally, looking at our home, I wanted to see what the neighborhood looked like in that hour and a half after school. Were kids out riding their bikes and integrating with one another? Or was there like tumbleweed rolling by, right? Like, that was the kind of community I'm looking for. So when you go by a school, are there a lot of students involved in extracurriculars, or does everybody leave immediately? And what's best for you? Because they could be leaving for something really great.
And even when you talk about school tours, when you're looking at a school as a parent, possibly non-educator, who knows, you want to see what's hanging in the hallway. You want to see an environment that is not sterile. You want to see a reflection of who those kids are. So you want to see a variety of student work. You know, if you come in my classroom, people describe it as crazy because it's colorful, it's bright green, there's a lot of things hanging.
Sounds like fun.
And yeah, it is. I think so. But I think that's important because when you go into a classroom as a student, no matter what age, you don't want to walk into a very sterile environment. You want to walk into an environment that's welcoming and fun, not distracting, but, you know.
Where the child will thrive.
Right, exactly.
It needs to be comfortable.
Right.
For sure.
It needs to be hard.
Heart. It sounded like you said it needs to be hard.
Oh,
like it has to be hard.
I was like, hold on, are we back?
There needs to be heart.
There needs to be heart. Yes, understood.
I'll just translate, okay?
I was like,
Smile
we're back at
section.
CBA.
I know what's happening right now. Yeah. Let me ask a different question. And to Jean, so when someone is moving here and they're not going along with the school calendar year, right? Our inventory is really tight. So what tends to happen is if someone doesn't find a home by the school calendar year, they're still looking. And let's say they move in, January as opposed to when school begins in September. When it comes to registration timing and how to get ahead of it, what is your recommendation for someone that's purchasing a home in this area?
I mean, timing certainly matters. I wouldn't be signing a kid in like December 20th. That's kind of a weird thing to do to a kid. I would wait until the new year. Okay. I would say getting that student into school as soon as possible is a really good thing. Give them as much time to acclimate before, spring comes along and they're outside and sports are, going,
right.
Field day, all that kind of stuff. Give them the time to, build friendships, but obviously that's not always what happens. Schools are usually very accommodating in terms of, getting that student in, putting them in their proper placement. The biggest things that we always deal with, especially with like our middle school students, is can we get their records quickly so we can, appropriately place them and get them what they need, what's best for that student, whether it's a GNT situation or an IEP situation. But yeah, get that student in as soon as possible. And, I think depending on where they're coming from, that acclimation period could be incredibly easy, or it could be, a little bit bumpy. We had a situation a couple years ago where we had a student move in from the New York area, and it was evident within a week that he had been used to playing in a very different sandbox than everybody else there. And it was like, hey, you don't got to prove yourself right away. Just calm down. And within a couple weeks, he was kind of flowing with everybody. But yeah, I mean, I would say get that student in, get them as comfortable as possible and trust the process.
Totally. And Marissa, if you could give a relocating family like a checklist, maybe 5 different questions or something like that, before they begin touring homes, what would be on it?
You love checklists.
I do love checklists. I really do.
We speak that same love language.
We do. Is yours color coded also?
Actually, yes.
See, I
I'll
knew
show
I
you
liked
mine
you.
later.
Yeah.
You people are crazy.
Agreed.
What I heard was efficient. That's what I heard.
Sure.
I would begin with, what are your short-term and long-term goals, right? Are you looking for a smaller student to teacher ratio, or are you just looking for a small school, perhaps with really large classes, a big school? Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes.
So I would say, like, what are your short-term goals and also long-term? We've already talked about different opportunities with high school, with extracurriculars, with sports. You know, kids' interests change, but you might know that your kid is some kind of prodigy, you know,
Like a math
on the
whiz
violin or something.
Yeah,
Or academically, right? So what places are going to provide opportunities should my child want to pursue that? I would also say, what are the unexpecteds, right? What does this community have to offer that I would have never considered to look for? What are the, there's a, like in Middletown, they have a junior professional league hockey team, right? And so you could go to the rinks on like Friday nights and watch these games. They do.
Sports.
I don't know if everybody knows that, but what are the opportunities that you're looking for to create with your family? You know, if you're someone who's like, no, we like spend every waking minute reading textbooks and like never venturing outside, like that's not going to be important. But if you're someone who's, I want to make memories every weekend, I want to do something different, what are the lesser known opportunities that are available to me? And again, like we're talking about culture. It's not just test scores.
I'm hearing a lot of that with the 3 of you. Like, it's not really so much the test scores and the rankings. It's really your neighborhood, your tribe, so to speak, who you're integrated with.
I mean, I love all my students, but the number of students in the past few years compared to 10, even 15 years ago who are dealing with, you know, high levels of anxiety is just dramatically different. And I'm not saying that every kid comes in with anxiety, right? Or that it all stems from the same place, but where is your child going to have the most opportunities for their best self, both academically, their mental health, all of those things.
But I mean, also speaking from like an administrative standpoint, again, we'll go back to knowing your child. If you know you have a child with an IEP, you need to make sure you are checking out that school to make sure they have those resources available to them. If you have a student with autism, do they have those resources available? You know, I would assume that somebody, you know, who has those needs is looking into something like that and isn't, you know, just picking, you know, and checking something off. But, you know, that's incredibly important. You need to know what's going to suit your child best.
And let's touch on that for a moment when you're talking about an IEP. So, you know, many people, many buyers that move here are moving from, let's say, the New York City area or, you know, one of the 5 boroughs. How does that work if a child has an IEP there moving here? What are some of the things that they should be considering looking for, or how do they find out more?
An IEP is a legally binding document. So if you have an IEP in New York, it's following that student here. What they need to understand, though, is, you know, the resources in Union Beach versus Shrewsbury versus Middletown versus Holmdel are not identical. They're
and
just
where
not.
Could they find out more about that?
There's certainly ways to do that research, whether online. I would definitely call the schools, have conversations. But it's a situation where, you know, in New York, if you're, let's say in Manhattan, there's a bunch of different schools. In Staten Island, there's a bunch of different schools that they would be able to kind of make sure that that student's needs is being tended to through the New York City school system. If you move to, let's say, Union Beach, the only people responsible for those services in Union Beach is Union Beach.
Right.
Middletown would have far more resources because it's just a larger district. So you kind of need to know what you're looking for. And sometimes that's where, you know, what we were talking about earlier is knowing your, you know, firstborn versus secondborn, you know, and what their needs are. They might not, you know, match up based on what you're looking for. So it's definitely important to do your research. It's important to have conversations because you want all of your child's academic needs to be taken care of, but also, you know, their social, emotional, and everything else being taken care
Just
of as well.
Important. And you were talking about vocational schools. I think we've all you all mentioned vocational schools. Tell us a little bit more about the Monmouth County vocational schools and the different types of programs and such that would be available to students.
If your student is really sure about what they would like to do in the future, you could find in the Monmouth County Vocational School District, you could find allied health, you could find MAST, you could find culinary program, you could find performing arts, all these different magnet programs, which makes Monmouth County special, right? Because communications, you can go and start to study what you want to do in the future immediately. So we have a lot of dual enrollment programs now in the high schools. So you're getting college credit for certain courses.
And where could someone find out more about the vocational school
Oh,
programs?
the Monmouth County Vocational School District.
They just go right there and
Yeah,
ask whatever
that's
questions.
where the landing point is.
I mean, the internet has so many resources. You
Yeah.
can find so much information. And then on top of just their websites, you're going to have people that are commenting above and beyond.
And we talked a lot about not putting all of our focus on rankings, but at the same time, High Tech High School, which is part of the Monmouth County Vocational School District, is consistently ranked as one of either the first or second top high school in the nation. You know, there's that. If you're
Definitely.
like a rankings person,
Absolutely.
that's there for you.
And, you know, having grown up and raising a well, you grew up in Holmdel, right?
Yep.
Raising your family in Shrewsbury, what has kept you in Monmouth County and connected to the community?
I mean, I feel like I have to turn this one to Gene because he grew up in Shrewsbury. And so while I always loved the area, I feel like I have truly found my place in Shrewsbury. Not that Holmdel isn't wonderful, but Shrewsbury is a different fit and a better fit for me personally. But do you want to talk about why we came back?
Yeah, I mean, Shrewsbury's amazing. I grew up there. I went to school there. I would have gone to Red Bank Regional. I had no problem going to regional. I was one of 36 kids the only one who didn't go to Red Bank Regional High School from my graduating class. And not that I didn't have a wonderful experience at CBA. It truly was. My parents said, we want you to go here. They made the right choice. You know, I was, but they made the right choice.
What were you like?
They can loop that back if they need. No, but I mean, you know, Shrewsbury is a small town, you know, small community. Everybody kind of knows one another. Everybody's looking out for one another. You know, I had the experience of after school, about 10 to 15 of us would walk home at the end of the day, hit Bagel Masters on the way.
Love Bagel Masters.
And then, you know, we'd play wiffle ball till the lights came on and then we'd go home. It really was that, you know, suburban dream growing up. And so when my parents were going to sell their house, I just said, we're buying it. And Marissa gave me that look like, what?
Just for context, it was Christmas Eve. And I had never seen the house, and I had just taken a bite of food, and he said, "We'll buy it," and I went, it was as attractive as you imagine it.
Right.
And he was like, "Just trust me." He was right. It was good. It was wonderful. Just on our street alone, I think there are 4 or 5 people on our street alone that grew up in Shrewsbury and came back to buy a house. I mean, that like recidivism rate is super high.
And I noticed that more and more, even whether it's Holmdel or wherever else. When I come across buyers moving to Monmouth County, especially if they're coming from Jersey City, Hoboken, they tend to have been someone that grew up here, moved for work or, you know, single life, whatever, and now moving back to raise families, which is very interesting to see that.
But you did it too.
Yeah.
So I never fully left Monmouth County.
Okay.
But yes.
But you didn't want to leave.
I didn't want to leave. Right. Exactly. Very
I mean,
true.
it goes back to what I was saying before. It is really the perfect bedroom community, like nestled right between everything. So,
Okay. So what do you love most about Monmouth County? Steve.
Restaurants.
Tell us your faves.
So some of my favorite restaurants, I love Rayla in Asbury, Tallulah's in Asbury. They have the best gluten-free pizza. What
And
else?
non-gluten-free for those.
Right,
who-
and
yeah,
non-gluten-free, right? Because I like, you know, experimental food, right? The ice cream that we have around here, like Nicholas Creamery, you know, the Monmouth County Education Association just gave them an award for their ice cream wars for being Friends of Education. So they've got, you know, and that's what speaks to the county too. It's a giant community that feels small.
Absolutely.
Right.
And we actually had Nicholas on here
Oh,
talking
okay.
last year just about the community and what he loves about Monmouth County. And one of my favorite ice cream spots, not to completely derail the conversation, but ice cream. Same. Where are your favorite spots?
I mean, I'm a hardcore Nicholas Creamery fan, but I have to say We do love Ryan's in Shrewsbury. They have the best
Ryan's is
pumpkin
really
ice
good.
cream.
Yeah, I grew up going to Ryan's. And I'll give a little shout out to my buddy who bought Jersey Freeze.
Opening in Shrewsbury now.
Yeah, it's opening in Shrewsbury, but one of my high school teammates bought Jersey Freeze. He's doing amazing things, moving to Holmdel out of Shrewsbury.
And the shakes are amazing.
Yeah, they're great.
So again, not only are people moving back to the area, but opening businesses here too. And it's such a great place to live, thrive, and own a business. What's one local place or activity or tradition that you recommend to a family, Jean, that maybe just moved here that they wouldn't know to do?
I mean, when we were talking about earlier, what people need to see, I was thinking in my head, like, it kind of depends on the season. It depends on the year. Like, it's August right now, and all I'm thinking is, oh, we're getting close to the Fireman's Fair in Fairhaven.
Yep.
Like, that was always, last hurrah of summer. And I know, like, our oldest is ready to go. She's excited to kind of go with her friends and do that kind of stuff with her softball buddies.
I'm not ready for it. But yeah.
Text me because Mike, my husband, will be working the fair. So I could tell you what booth he's at. So you
There
can
you
go
go.
and bother him. Yeah.
Perfect. Let's do that.
The Blue Claws do a great job, out in Lakewood. There's a lot of fun things to do there. That's just a short stone's throw away from Monmouth County. Steve said it best. There's some great restaurants: Copper Canyon, Semolina,
Oh, yeah.
Juanito's.
Yeah.
But even like Sandbox.
Love Sandbox.
You get some live music, food trucks, really good food trucks.
So Sandbox is like right, C Street where the ferry is.
Oh yeah,
In
duh.
Highlands.
Yeah, duh. Okay. Yeah. No, now I know what we're talking about. Okay.
But they have great drinks. They have live music.
Same thing with the Seafarer.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a good one too.
Mm-hmm.
And depending on like which night you go or what time you go, it's like great for the family or like a date night or just like a hangout.
I also love our parks. I don't know if
Yes.
you're a big trail.
Have you been to the
person.
new Marine Park?
No.
In Red
Oh,
Bank?
in Red Bank. No, I haven't.
I haven't
it's
either, but it's
incredible.
Yeah.
It is
seen pictures.
incredible. From what it was, I mean, I knew what it was a long time ago, but it is the coolest playground around, just accessibility wise. So if your child had special needs, you can easily play as well as everybody else.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
love that.
It is awesome.
And I mean, like also like summer, like Monmouth County Parks, the camps that they run are just,
my God.
there's so much to
You
do
were just talking about your daughter being both of them
Yes.
being
Yeah.
part of the Monmouth
Like,
County Parks.
all over the
Yeah.
place. There's
Camp
just so many
system.
things, outside of school that for families to do. There's Monmouth County it really does hit everything along the spectrum of awesome.
Even the things that you don't know to look for, but are such serendipitous, wonderful opportunities when you come across them.
It's like even just driving in Colts Neck and like the horses. Like it's
Yes.
just, I'm like, I can't believe I live here.
Now there's like zebras with, Carm's Farm and stuff like that.
I know Carm came on here too. And he was talking about how he wants to try to like get giraffes or something, which was a little,
Kangaroos, they just got kangaroos.
Interesting.
he has an exotic animal permit now allowing him to do this, I think,
Very
which is
cool.
so interesting to me. That
I
want
want to see them in the blizzard. Like, how do they react?
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure he has to have like a
I'm sure-
different
I'm sure
sure
they don't go
environment
out
for
in the
them.
blizzard, but
Yeah. And Carm's Farm is great for coming up with pumpkin, Halloween and the
Absolutely.
fall. And
The
they have
season.
so many things going on there too.
I took the girls a few weeks ago, and they've been begging almost daily to go back since they love going to feed the animals. So I'm sure that's going to be on the docket next week. Back to Carm's Farm.
Before we wrap up,
I was going to say the one thing
Go
we didn't
ahead.
mention is the arts.
mm,
So we have an incredible arts community in
That we do.
Monmouth County. We
Yeah.
have great theaters. We have the Axelrod and
Count Basie.
Count Basie. Well, I wasn't
Vogel.
even going there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to go there.
Two
Everybody-
River.
Yeah, Two River, Count Basie, Axelrod.
Well, there's also NJ Pack, which isn't far.
Algonquin, right?
Mm.
Yeah.
And NJ Pack isn't far, but even when you're looking at community theater, when you're looking at professional productions, Two River, all of that, you have a large pool to choose from, and they all have, well, most of them, like Two River and Count Basie, have great education programs for
Yeah, they
kids,
really do.
and it helps really develop the whole child. Yeah.
And they really help kind of link up with schools and,
Yeah.
and provide resources to them as well. And, again, Monmouth County hitting everything on the spectrum, you have PNC. You have PNC where if you want to see live music, you're getting everything.
And we know the way in from the back.
Yes.
Yes.
The-
We don't
The
wait in
back
those
way.
lines.
Yeah, we don't wait in the line
If
getting
you
in.
move here, we'll tell you.
Yes.
Maybe.
Takes a couple years. But no, like, I mean, if you enjoy like professional live music, from Count Basie to PNC, there's stuff all over the place.
And even last weekend, just walking down Broadwalk
Mhm.
in Red
Yeah.
Bank. And the music scene, I'm like, they're incredible.
Broadwalk has become the coolest thing.
It really
was hotly
is.
debated for a long time about should we keep it, because it was a COVID thing. And it has become the
staple.
heartbeat of the town. It's really great. And they've added a lot of different things. They have line dancing, which I was like, nope, I'll sit and watch.
But you went.
That's a no.
But I went.
You went to watch.
And I saw, but they also have like sidewalk sale this
Oh, I
weekend.
was there. Did you see me?
No, I did not. Sorry.
Oh, I was with
Next
Blur
time.
as I was like moving through everything.
Yeah, right. They have some great things.
Yeah.
And it's an awesome town, Red Bank.
Anything that you would like to touch on that maybe we haven't talked about or discussed that you would think is really important?
I think there's a lot of opportunities also on the water. Like we talked about the ferry to get to the city, but also there's surf clubs, there's sailing clubs, there's yacht clubs.
Beach clubs.
They're obviously the beach clubs, absolutely. So if you're someone who's like, oh, I'm a kayaker, like we lived in Red Bank, we used to walk over and go kayaking over by, I can't think of the name of that park right now. Right over the
under
little
the
bridge.
library, right?
Oh, there's that one too.
Oh, okay.
But there is
You talking about the one in Oceanport?
no. Where like by the Galleria, when you just go over that little bridge, it's right there. That little marina.
Oh,
where they-
the new where they just built.
Yeah, they built that new
New park.
Yes.
And it looks very
Yeah.
pretty.
Yes.
Again, there's so many opportunities for not only like things to do, but also hobbies to create and foster and enjoy.
Lifestyles.
We lived in Red Bank before kids. We loved it.
Loved it. I mean, the one thing I will say, and I kind of feel obligated to say this, is Monmouth County is full of wonderful teachers. And I'm not just saying that because I'm married to one. But like, we really do have wonderful teachers here in Monmouth County. But I think it's also important to say, like, your child's education is what you make of it. Okay, if you think you're just going to move in and it's a one size fits all and your kid's just going to go to this school and they're going to thrive because of the school, that's not how it works.
Right.
Okay, you need to be invested in your child's education. You know, hopefully you're reading to them since the time that they're, you know, a baby. You know, it's not just a rely on the schools thing. And that's unfortunately becoming something, you know, that's prevalent right now in education, is that the school has become parent, teacher, doctor, therapist, all these things. And that's just not the reality of it. You know, we are facing a time where we have kids that are dealing with unprecedented amounts of anxiety and things like that. And us as educators, we're doing everything we can to help that child, but it does need to be a community,
Right.
you know,
It's a
involvement.
partnership.
Yeah, it really is a partnership. So you need to look for the community that is going to best serve the partnership with your family.
Well said, Jean.
Along those lines, like, trust that teacher and that school as the professionals that they've been educated in, that they've learned to be and practiced to be, you know?
And you have a lot of educators who really are trying to do the best by every single student in their
Yeah.
care. I know when I grew up, and I'm much older than my wife, I guess she'll tell you. But
All
like, it
3
was a
years.
situation where if there was a phone call home, I didn't want to go home because I was dead before I got there. But now it's a situation where, you know, everything's turned back on the school. Like, teachers have too much on their plate to hold grudges against kids. They are truly reaching out for support. They are not, you know, trying to get that kid in trouble. They're not looking to degrade that kid. You know, schools have so much on their plate. Believe me, if we could indoctrinate children, they'd do their homework and they'd wear deodorant. Like, it is definitely a situation where schools are trying to do their best. And we're genuinely looking for that partnership.
Absolutely.
What would you say is the most important advice you would give a family choosing a home with education as one of its top priorities?
Trust Nicole. She knows what she's doing.
Thank you.
That's an outtake she'll keep forever.
There we go.
No, I mean, I think if you're looking for education as your primary, you know, outlet, you know, definitely look at the data points. They definitely matter. They're there for a reason. But I would still default back to, you need to, you know, visit that school. Like
Schedule
Steve said,
visits.
if it's incredibly sterile and that's what you're looking for, fine. If you're looking for a place with a lot of heart, okay, then definitely make sure, you know, that's what you're looking for. You know, just definitely go beyond the website. You know, drive by the school. Look at what it looks like. Don't be the first time that you've seen that building, you know, the day you know, pull up, throw your kid out of the car and pull off.
Because remember, data is not always accurate, right? Because some of those websites, they pull from inaccurate places that might not have data updated. So the rankings that you might find, like the out of 10, I was looking last night, like, you know, one school is 7 out of 10, but you're like, okay, that doesn't seem good, but it's actually not that bad. I think it was actually Holmdel. and South were 7 out of 10. And I was like, what?
Or even Cold Snack I saw was like a 5 out of 10.
Yeah. And it's crazy. So like,
but what is one of the points for aliens as members of the student body? Because like, you're not going to get that point. You know what I mean?
Right. True.
So,
you have to know what you're really looking at.
Skewed.
A global view.
And where are they pulling from? You mentioned how recently has it been updated, but also, is that what you're looking for?
Mm-hmm. We've all worked together. I've helped everyone here with either buying or selling a home.
When Jean's parents passed and we were selling their place, obviously there was a lot of emotions going around. A lot of emotions were involved. And Jean said, we need to sell it. I said, okay. And obviously I reached out to you, Nicole. But I would like to tell you the 2 things that made you unequivocally the person that we wanted to work with. When you came and met with us for the first time, you had a printed out, colored, organized
organization.
Yes, it was what to expect,
checklist.
How's every step going to work. And I sat down with it with my highlighter and notepad ready to go through and mark up my questions. And while I did have some, there were so few. And I appreciated that everything was laid out because throughout the process, I could always reference back to it. But the second thing was, one of the things that you had written down was your business hours. And you said, and if you need me after, you can email me or not. And I said, somebody who has clear boundaries, this is somebody who knows what they're doing because they also recognize the importance of separating and family time. But you were always available. You were always communicative. You were so fast. I didn't know if you like slept or did other things. Like you were on everything. And obviously Jean didn't know you at all. Mm-hmm. We knew each other from years ago.
Right.
And he has recommended you to genuinely countless people. And you said it was such an easy experience.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
No, thank you, because it could have been a nightmare, but it was so easy. You were like, here's what to expect. Here's how it happens. And everything went smoother than planned. And it's because not only did you know what you were doing, not only did you have contacts and relationships in place, but you were able to speak from a point of, I don't want to say authority, but knowledge.
Mm-hmm. I really appreciate that. And I appreciate your trust and hiring me to help you during especially an emotional time too. I don't take that lightly. And that was more on a sales side. Mm-hmm. Steve was more of a purchase.
Yeah, a purchase and a sale.
But from the purchase end of it, what was that experience? I mean, it's been some time since
it's been some time. Oh no, but it's highly memorable. So Nicole came to us from someone else who just, I don't know, from someone else. We'll just leave it at that. And my first impression of Nicole was, oh God, what is this going to be? Because Nicole was professional Nicole. And it was until we found, not unprofessional Nicole. until we found the real Nicole.
Yeah, the professional's not real.
It was like, professional's not real. It was
personable.
Personable, right. Well, no, she was always personable because trained. But so here's what happened. As you can tell, I'm very sarcastic, right? I know, right? It's a shock. So we were looking at a bunch of houses. We found a great house, but there was something wrong with it. Like the foundation was not good. Mm-hmm. So we were like, okay, we have to unload this. We had an offer in. It was great. It was a ranch. I wanted a ranch, but whatever. So we get to this one. It was after work one night, right? We walk in and Nicole is standing in the back of the house with just her, professional look on, and goes, we're leaving. And I was like, okay, we haven't even looked at the house. She goes, we're leaving, but you have to come and see this. And I was like, okay. So we go, and as I'm walking, I feel the floor slanting. I'm like, is the floor slanted? And she goes, and that's not it. You need to come into the kitchen. Off the kitchen was a full bathroom with a shower and everything, whatever. She's like, you're not buying this house. And I was like, okay. We're going over to Middletown. And then there was a house in Middletown that was this French chalet kind of thing, right? Outside of the neighborhood. We wanted something different than everybody else, right? So we walk into this house and it's cool, modern, whatever. But then you walk into the dining room and the three of us immediately said, oh my God, we're going to have a murder mystery party here. Mm-hmm. Because it was a square dining room that had wood paneling, floor to ceiling. It looked like there was a murder there and somebody had to solve it. But
The Clue House.
The Clue House,
Mm-hmm.
and that was the Clue House. And then there was the one in Eatontown, which was the Lord of the Manor. Do you remember that one?
I do remember that one.
So this
I remember
was
what street it was on.
a very old house,
Mm-hmm.
like probably 1800s, turn of the century, older than that. And I even had servants' quarters and a dirt cold basement. Like it was super cool. But except you walk out your front door and it's all these 1960s pillbox houses. So I was like, I'm not going to be the Lord of the Manor. But we saw some cool stuff. And after a while, Nicole was like, you're not buying this, but we're going to see it because it's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then ultimately you wound up.
And ultimately we wound up in the house that we wanted from the very beginning, but it was just too expensive. And then they dropped the price 6 months later or whatever it was. And now we're redoing everything.
And for context, this was some time ago when you're talking about dropping price.
Right. Yeah.
It's
Sorry.
been on the market for 6 months.
Yeah. Back when people could buy houses. Sorry, shouldn't have said that. So yeah,
Please
so
leave that in.
this is 12 years ago. Yeah, this is like 2014. We bought the coolest house on the best block in town, the widest block in town. And what makes it the coolest house is because we saw what we wanted to ultimately do, and that's what we've done. We had to do a lot in the meantime. Like
And
get
the
rid
work
of
that
fire
you've
engine
been-
red carpet.
The fire engine red carpet. And didn't you open a wall and there were like bottles stored in the wall?
The only thing that we found so far is an old whiskey bottle, which we still have.
That is so cool.
Yeah, we have 2 rooms left that we need to do.
And you ripped down, it wallpaper? And then there was molding like by the steps.
Oh
Wasn't there
yeah,
like
so
gorgeous
they had
molding?
covered up. So they covered up. You know how the old red bank houses have like the wood molding on the steps or whatever. They covered it up with sheetrock. They took the actual railing down and put up like a garden iron railing. They read one great decorating magazine in the 70s and kept it to the point where when we closed and everybody was coming in, because that's the kind of neighborhood it is, everybody's like, are you keeping the carpet? Are you keeping the wallpaper? We're like, so it was like that. But we restored the makings of the original molding. We're back there.
Wow.
So for a couple of years, we left with the makings of the molding. But then we had the stairs redone, and it was
So nice.
incredible. Like to walk into our house now, especially at the holidays, because we're a little crazy with that kind of thing. It's awesome. They took the original molding down. Thankfully, our neighbor next door had the original molding. So we designed the new molding to meet that.
cool.
Yeah. So we've done a lot of cool stuff in that house.
That
Yeah,
is really
it's awesome.
cool. Well, thank you all so much for being here and sharing your experience as educators, residents, and members of the Monmouth County community. And thank you to everyone watching or listening to all things Monmouth County and real estate. Whether you're moving from New York, comparing local school systems, or simply looking for the right community for you and your family, I hope today's conversation gave you a clear place to begin. Every child and every family is different, so take the time to look beyond a single ranking, ask questions directly, and confirm information with the district as part of your home search. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to follow the show, share it, and stay connected for more conversations with the people, businesses, and organizations that make our community so special. I'm Nicole Rabbat Levine, and I'll see you next time.